Hello, welcome back to Oracle DBA tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to discuss about redo log file. This is an abstract picture of Oracle server, which is consist of instance and file system. And the file systems are of different types of file. And then we have already explained in our last videos about parameter files, data files, temp files, control files. In this video, we are going to discuss about redo log files. So let's try to understand what is redo and why you need redo log files. So redo log files are essentially a transaction log of the database. That means by following the redo log files, I can create, I can take my database to a particular state. Let's let's take an example, and then that will be clear what I'm talking about. Let's say I have my database files called 1.dbf. Okay, this is 1.dbf, and this is there in say disk 1. Okay, then I have another file in disk 2, and I call that one say r.dbf. Okay, in disk 2 I have another file called r.dbf. And then what I'm doing, every day at 5 p.m. I am copying this 1.dbf to another disk called disk 3. Disk 3 will be exactly a copy of 1.dbf at 5 p.m. Okay, so that means at 5 p.m. this 1.dbf on disk 1 and 1.dbf at disk 3, they are same. Okay, so if this is the case, so let's say at 5 p.m. Monday, I copy this file 1.dbf to disk 3 1.dbf, both are same. Then at 5:01 p.m. on Monday, what I'm going to do, I am going to do an insert into table T some value, let's say 5, and assume that table T is inserting to this file called 1.dbf. Alright, so if that is the case, then what is going to happen, in 1.dbf I have modified, I have modified something, and then 5 is stored there. So if I compare the 1.dbf in disk 1 and 1.dbf in disk 3, they are exactly same, except that 1.dbf will contain a new entry, that is 5. Alright, then on disk 2 on r.dbf, I am going to have enough information that I can redo this insert statement at 5:01. So basically I keep some information, and that information is enough to redo this statement. Let's say at 5:02 my disk 1 crashed. If my disk 1 crashed, then 1.dbf is no more accessible. How do I get back? The first thing what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a new disk. Okay, so let's say this is disk 4. Okay, first I'm going to put a new disk to my, attach a new disk to the server, and then I'm going to copy 1.dbf to disk 4. But remember, this 1.dbf, whatever I'm getting at 5:02, I'm copying, will not have this, right? So what I'm going to do after that, I'm going to read my r.dbf and then start doing whatever happened after 5 p.m. After 5 p.m. at 5:01 p.m. somebody has inserted this thing, right? Then I'm going to replay in my database all these transaction logs, whatever they are available in my redo log file. Right, so by doing that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring back this 5 which was modified before at 5:01. By doing that, I'm going to have also 5. That means the 1.dbf on disk 4, whatever you are seeing at 502 after we recovered, right, at 502 after we recover 1.dbf, this is exactly same what was there before the disk got crashed. Okay, so that is what is the use of redo log file. The only purpose of redo log file is to recover the database in case of a media failure. If I do not have this information that insert has happened, then I can always recover back to 1.dbf that was at 5, but I cannot get it back what happened at 501. Alright, so now this comes to the next question. The next question is that we are going to store 1.dbf here in one disk, we are going to store 1.dbf in another disk, so this is because of the backup and all this thing. Then we are going to store all this information about the redo log file. That means we are just doing it 3 times. Like the storage requirement, like basically just to store this t is equal to 5, we store here, and next day at 5 p.m. we are going to store here, and also we are going to have this information that we have inserted. That means we are going to consume almost 3 times. Is it worth it? Actually, we are not really storing the full information here, and also we are not storing, if this is a 2 gigabyte disk, we don't need 2 gigabyte disk here. What we are storing here? We are storing here what is going to transaction log until the next backup point. That means on Tuesday at 5 p.m. I am going to take another backup. That means at Tuesday at 5 p.m. the disk in this and disks in this tree, they are almost same. So basically, essentially, I need this file to recover the incremental data that has occurred in between a backup time. That means if my database is going to fail on say Tuesday at 11 a.m., then I need, first thing is the backup, which is going to contain up to Monday. Then from Monday 5 p.m. to Tuesday 11 a.m., whatever the incremental transactions, those things I need from the redo log file. So therefore, redo log file should not contain much data, except that it will contain only the incremental data that is going to be from one backup to another backup. So that is what is the redo concept, and then redo log file is always comes in the 2. That means we need minimum 2 redo log file. The reason is that, so let's say this is the first redo log file. So let's say this is the redo 1, then we have another log file redo 2. Okay, so there are 2 redo log files. So whenever this transaction happens, a transaction logs is created like this. Eventually this redo log file is going to fail, and it's going to fail, then it's going to switch to the next redo log file. So when you're going to switch to the next redo log file, just make sure that it is first empty. If it is empty, then start writing. And so we are going to complete the redo log file. Eventually redo log file 2 is going to be complete, and then we are going to switch. When we are going to switch, there are a couple of things we need to make sure. That this redo log file we are going to rewrite. We need to understand if we do really need this information. If you do not need this information, then don't worry, then go on and rewriting. But if we need this information, first do a checkpoint, which we are going to explain you in next couple of videos. So do a checkpoint, so that checkpoint process is going to make sure that even if we lose this thing, then we are fine. And this switching from one to another is called log switch. Log switch, whenever happens, system means to be a standstill. That means the transaction, if you are doing some transaction, it's not going to do for some time. First the log switch is going to happen, and after that the transaction is going to start. That means you are in the middle of some insert, you may not be able to insert because log switch is going on. Therefore, it's always important to make sure that you size your redo log file according to your transactional needs. We are going to discuss all those things essentially in a performance tuning class, which are very much in detail, like how to size and with a lot of different kind of scenarios. But just for fundamental things, that understand that there is something called log switch. All right. Then another thing is there called archived redo log. Archived. So what archived redo log file does is that it's going to archive all this data to another file which is called archived redo log file, so that we can keep all this information there as well. And this redo log file needs to be on a disk which has a fast read IO on in the write IO, because we want to write a lot of information being written to this redo log file, and you need a fast disk. But whereas this archiver redo is not really required to be on a very expensive fast disk drive, and we just keep those things, and we need archiver in case of a scenario where where the redo log file enough can where the redo log files cannot recover the database to your last backup point. In that case, we are going to read from archiver to this is an optional file, and if you have enabled the archiver in your Oracle database, then only archived redo log file is going to come into picture. Otherwise, you don't need that. So essentially, this is what is all about the redo, and then these are the redo log file on my demo system, so which I'm going to show you right now. So these are my two redo log files, and whenever this redo log switch happen, I can go to this file, which will tell me, like, let's I have a file called alert.log, and if I go there to okay, so alert.log file is going to tell me, like, when the redo log file is control G. Okay, so what I'm saying is that, so this is the current log was on redo 02, and then log switch happen, and then it moves to another log file redo 01. Then once this is redo 01 is filled, then it's going to redo 02, and that is called a log advance, and this is called a log sequence, and this log sequence is going to be stored in the control file. All right, so this is how all these things going work together to make your database recovery possible.